Hello and welcome to our live session today. We are already live and we're going to talk about something pretty exciting today. We're going to cover one aspect of content creation and digital entrepreneurship that I believe we often ignore, which is how to be unique and special, how to have your own edge, but still learn from others without ending up being a copy of someone else. So I think that's quite an interesting topic. And at the end of the session, we are also going to do a little Q&A session where you can basically share all sorts of questions and I will answer a bunch of them. So we'll just quickly check on my phone if the tech is set up. If you are already here and watching me live, let me know where you're joining from and how you are doing. And I'll just wait a few more seconds so everybody can join us before we get started, because we always have a short delay, but I think everything is set up and ready. All right, so I can already see the first comments. Hello and welcome. All right, I will put my slides up here and just go through the content that I've prepared for all of you. And if you have any questions during the session, just put them in the chat box and the comments box. And in the end, we will have a few more minutes to do the Q&A session if you have any other questions. All right, so I have my slides here. If you have been following me for a while, if you have been part of this group or part of my email list, you have probably seen or realized that there's been kind of a little drama, not really a drama, but something weird that happened a few weeks ago, which is just that my emails have been copied and used by an other creator. And it's just a very weird situation because we have an overlap in audiences. So a few of you might have received his emails and thought that it's me because he copy pasted my emails, just a bunch of weird stuff. And since then, I've just been receiving a few emails, messages, especially exactly when that happened. It's been a lot of confusing, and a lot of people have been asking me how I dealt with that situation and how it made me feel and all sorts of questions. So I thought it might be really valuable to share my 2 cents on it without digging too deep into that specific situation, but on my overall opinion and perspective on how to learn from others, get inspired, how to make your own journey as a creator and entrepreneur more effective by getting inspired by others, but without ending up being a copy of someone else. Because I think we all want that, right? We want to save time, we want to be efficient, but we also want to be ourselves. We don't want to be the copy of someone else. And what happened those few weeks ago was basically that this creator, entrepreneur, however he's calling himself, is he just copy pasted my entire email sequence. So I am used to seeing my articles being kind of copied or people doing similar stuff like me, simply because I have a huge reach and I have obviously been looking at what others are doing as well. But this has just been a bit painful because there's an email sequence that I've been using for more than a year now. So it's the first time I sent this was more than a year ago. And I've always been tweaking it, but setting up these emails just took me days of work. So I've been collecting resources and tweaking my emails for a really long time, and I've been using them for multiple months and perfecting them with each launch. And then he just copy pasted it to his email service provider and he sent them out. And I saw that because I was signed up for his email list with one of my emails, and I first saw that and I knew that he was copying my emails because it was my exact subject lines, and I have spent so much time writing those subject lines that I immediately knew that it was my subject lines. But I didn't want to do any drama or anything, so I didn't care about it. I ignored it. But what happened then is that he even forgot to change the content at some point, because he really just copied the entire email sequence and he changed the name of his product that he wanted to sell. But in one of the emails, he forgot to change my name in the email. So he sent an email with my name. And at the latest, then people just were confused and they were like, hey, it's saying CNAM in your emails. You're not CNAM, and is CNAM writing your emails? Or what the hell is happening there? So it was a really weird situation. It was also super annoying for me because I was in a product launch myself. So I was sending my own emails and I had to tweak my own subject lines because he was using mine. And it was just really frustrating because, first of all, nobody wants his work to be stolen, right? So when you create something, you know that everybody can see it, but you hope that nobody is going to just copy paste it. It's a risk that we all have as soon as we publish something online, but it's something that we deep inside we hope that people respect our work and that they don't just copy paste it. But it was also annoying because I was sending my emails and he was sending my emails, and some people just received similar subject lines in the same week, and it was just super weird, and my people and my audience got confused, and it was just annoying to me. And I think that we don't talk about this as often as we should, because this is important. Like, nobody should do this. It's okay to get inspired. It's okay to look at someone's emails and write something similar, but you cannot just copy paste an entire sequence, especially not if you are operating in the same industry, in the same niche, and if you have an overlap in audiences. And this is a very specific example of emails, but the same also applies to all sorts of content. So when you create an article, there should be some sort of originality where it is yours, it is your work. It's not something that you just copied from someone else and you just changed a few words, right? That's not how you will really become significant and how you become a significant voice. And one of the things that also really hurt me is that these copied emails were actually selling a product all around content creation. So it was selling a product about how to write and succeed on LinkedIn. And that just made me angry, because you should not sell a product about content creation by copying someone else's emails. So there's just so many mistakes or weird situations in that, where I think the overall situation is just that everybody tries to be themselves and as original as they can be instead of just copying someone else. And I actually want to talk about a few differences here, because what you obviously should not do is just copying one person or a very specific piece of content. Like, if you copy an entire article, change a few words, and publish it, if that person who has written the article sees it, they will realize it. Because when I write an article, I put so much time and effort into it. If I see a copied version and you just change, I don't know, 5% of the words in this article, I will know that it's my article because I've put the sweat and the hard work into it. The difference is that you can learn from people and from resources, and that's what we all do. And I have studied tons and tons of resources. I have studied tons and tons of creators. I didn't come up with any of those emails, of any of the content that I create out of the blue. I come up with it because I see something and I ask myself, okay, how can I adapt this piece of content, this email, this page to what I'm doing, and how can I make it mine instead of creating something out of the blue. And the thing is, you never have to be 100% original. You can learn from others. You can use inspiration to your advantage. But the difference is that you should learn from various resources, because as soon as you just pick one single resource and you just pick the email sequence of one person, it's going to be hard for you to realize what kinds of changes you can make. But if you look at, let's say, if you look at articles from 10 different writers, you can compare them. You can ask yourself, okay, what does writer A do that I want to learn more about, or that I want to do in my own writing? And what is he doing wrong? What does writer B do, etc., etc.? You can always learn from others, but it's really this spectrum of different ideas and different pieces of content that makes you a rich learner. And it is totally fine to learn from those ahead of you, because if you don't do that, you will just waste a lot of time. There is no point in trying to do everything from zero and starting from scratch and not having any inspiration at all. You don't want to do that as well. So you do want to have some sort of inspiration. You want to have some people that you look up to. That's perfectly normal. And it's also a way to be more effective if you are starting this content creation or online writing journey. That's perfectly fine. And in the end, everybody that you have been looking up to so far has probably had a mentor as well. And I've just put a few famous popular names here, but it's just perfectly normal that everybody who has achieved something significant or has achieved certain goals, they learned from other people. That's normal. That's the way we learn, as soon as we are born, basically. As kids, we also look up to our parents, and we learn based on their experiences, and we learn based on what they are doing and how they are doing it. So it's not a shame to learn from others. It's just a shame to blindly copy someone's work and sell it as your own. And I think it's clear what the huge gap there is. And I actually see three possibilities here, and two of them are actually problems. So when you join this journey of creating content, or you're writing online, or you want to sell digital products or even physical products, you always have these three possibilities. You can say, I do it my way. I don't want to learn from anyone. I don't want to learn how the algorithm works or how to do it correctly. I have my own style, and I'm just going to do it the way I want to do it. You can do it that way, but if you do it your own way, and if you completely ignore the rules or what everybody else is doing and what successful people are teaching, it's likely that you will face roadblocks, because there is a reason why there are strategies, why there are certain things that just work. And if you are too stubborn, and if you just want to do it your own way, it's just going to get hard to increase your impact and likely also your income. So you got to have that flexibility. Then the second part is, I do what others do. In that case, you don't add your own personality to the game at all. You just do what someone else is doing. Maybe it's one person, maybe it's multiple people, but you don't really add your own personality, your own opinions, your own experiences to your content. You just write what others are writing because that's what feels easiest to you. Or I don't know why people do that, but it's what we often experience, right? People just do what others are doing without really being unique or special. And these two are just not the best way to do it, obviously. What I consider to be the best way is to mix and match all of that, to get inspired by others, but also to ask yourself, what's the unique skill set? What are the values? What are the special things that I bring to the table, that I can bring to the world, and that I can communicate to the world? What is special about me, and how can I match those special things with the type of content, or with the rules or the strategies that are proven to work? And that's really when the magic happens, when you follow certain patterns but stay true to yourself and add those unique angles to your content, to your communication, to your marketing, that are special about you. Because the point is, everybody can copy you, right? So everybody could copy me, everybody could copy my articles. As we can see, they can copy my emails, and there's actually nothing I can do about that. What they cannot copy is my personality, because my emails or my content is written in a way that it speaks from my heart, it speaks from my experiences, and you can copy it, but just to a certain extent, because if that's not your natural way of being and thinking and feeling, people are going to feel that. And I genuinely believe, no matter if it's via video or if it's just a text on the internet that you read, that people feel whether it's an honest and genuine person creating that piece of content, or if it's really kind of someone who is just doing it for money and not putting any effort into it. And the thing is, nobody can steal your unique personality or your story. They can try to, or they can copy it, but it's just going to work for you because there is just one you, and nobody can copy all your experiences, your emotions, your learnings, and do that in an effective way as much as you can. And in a world where everybody is trying to picture perfect and everybody is trying to be like others, your biggest strength is actually staying true to yourself and just playing to your strengths, but also really showing your personality and showing us what you stand for. And I do that all the time, and I know that a lot of people won't listen to me. They won't consume my content because my opinions or my experiences or just my personality, it doesn't match with them. They don't feel attracted to the type of content I create or to my personality, so they just don't consume my content. But that's perfectly fine because I don't want people to join me or to spend time on my products or on my free content if they feel like it's not a match. There are thousands and tens of thousands of creators online. If you want to read content, you can read it from so many different people, and you just gotta have to find the people who are a match for you. Also kind of an energetic level. It's not only about facts and figures. Content creation and writing online is a lot about emotions. It's a lot about human connections. And the most effective but also the most, or the easiest way to create that human connection is to show who you are and tell people what you stand for, because that's how you attract them, and that's also how you build that relationship so they stay with you over the long term. All right. So yeah, for me, the solution is not just learning from one person. It's not really about learning, but about copying, not just consuming the content of one person and then doing the same. Because if you do that, if you would only read my articles and then you try to write your own articles, it can happen that you end up sounding like me because that's the only thing you ever read. But if you read articles from tens of people, from hundreds of people, you will try to figure out what your style is, what your voice is, what kinds of words you want to use, what kinds of titles you want to write, what types of images you want to use in your articles. If you just look at my content and then you write, you won't have that variety, you won't have that spectrum, and you can do a lot of things in multiple different ways. You can write titles in tons of different ways, but I have my style of writing them, and it doesn't mean that it's the only right way to do it, and it doesn't mean it's the right way for you to do it. That's why it's so important to look at a variety of creators and writers, and ask yourself, wait, who is doing what and what can I learn from them? You can learn something from person A and you can learn something different from person B, and that's perfectly fine. You just don't want to end up sounding like someone else. That's, I think, the biggest threat, and also kind of the biggest, it's the worst thing you can do ultimately, because if you sound like me and I have an authority on a certain platform or in a certain market, why should people consume your content? They're going to come to me and join me and consume my content because I've been doing it for a longer period of time. I already have the credibility. There's no point in listening to you if you say exactly what I say, because I've been doing it for a longer time. But if you say something else, if you add your own personality, your experiences, your learnings, your life lessons to the game, well, that's a different situation. That's a totally different story, because suddenly it makes a lot of sense to listen to you because I cannot be you. And it's just two different people communicating and providing value, even if we talk about the exact same topics. All right. So yeah, my solution was really always picking a handful of heroes and studying their work. Ever since I started being an entrepreneur, I always had my heroes, my idols, my mentors, and I looked up to them. I consumed their work, but I didn't just consume their work as a consumer. I've really been curious about why they do what they do. And especially in writing, you can do that. You can always ask yourself, why did the writer start this article the way she started it? Why did she pick those exact words for the title. Why did she pick that title image? What's special about it? And that's obviously more exhausting. It takes a little more time than just reading the article and reading the next article. But it's so valuable, because if you start to question why people do certain things, that's when you learn what to do. If you just read it and you never question why I'm doing what I'm doing, you will say, okay, yeah, she's doing it that way, but you will not understand how to apply it yourself. But if you read slowly and if you constantly question what other people are doing, that's how you really learn to adapt those principles to your own content as well. And yeah, also always ask yourself how you could do it even better. Nobody is perfect, and everybody who is creating content online is also making mistakes. When I read my old articles or any article that I have ever published online, even if I published it just a week ago, if I read it, I can always find mistakes, or I can find things that I could do better or improve. It's you writing is never perfect, and it's never really done. And even if you are reading the content of people you admire, always ask yourself what you could do better than what they did. You will always find those situations where even your biggest idols or the people you've been looking up to are making mistakes, or you're just, if you always ask yourself why they are doing what they're doing, you might also come up, sometimes you might just realize that maybe there's not really a reasonable answer to the question, and they just made a mistake, or they just missed something while editing their article, or they just didn't know any better. In the end, we're all humans. And for me, being a little skeptical about the content I consumed was really a powerful way of becoming a better writer myself. Don't, even if you admire someone, even if you look up to them, don't assume that all their work or all the content they create is perfect, because it's not. They are making mistakes, and you can learn from their mistakes, because if you question their mistakes, you can always ask yourself, okay, what would I do differently in their shoes? And if there's a weird paragraph in their writing, how could they write it or rewrite it in a way that it sounds better, or that it's easier to understand? You can learn a lot on your own just by questioning what people are doing. All right. Yeah, and as I said, it's not really about plagiarism, and I know I used the word in the title, but it's not really about copy pasting, even though that happens too, as I showed you. It's also about not being able to show your personality. And you don't want to copy paste someone's content. I think that's obvious, but you also don't want to end up sounding like someone who you are not. You want to have your own style, you want to have your own personality, you want people to read your content because it's you, because it's your name, because it's your experiences, because they like how you write and how you sound. You don't want to be the second version of someone else. At least that's what I assume, and that's what I hope for you. And there's actually a beautiful quote that I love. It's always be a first-rate version of yourself instead of a second-rate version of somebody else. And I know that you might think, well, I'm not really interesting, or I don't have interesting stories to share with the world. But trust me, everybody is thinking that way. Every single person you ever met thinks that they are not so special. At least most people, probably not everyone. But the thing is, whenever you say that, you are actually, what you mean is that you are afraid that nobody will listen to your story. But I bet that you have a lot to share with the world, because every single day you are experiencing things, you are learning things, you are going through emotions, you are fighting your own battles, you are overcoming struggles and learning how to face your fears and how to solve certain problems. We all do, all day long. That's what living is. And it's perfectly fine that you're a little uncomfortable when sharing your unique truth, yourself, and your own personality. But that's really what will help you stand out, and what will make the difference between an average creator or writer and someone who is a leader and who people look up to. not just in a way that they look up to you as a writer, but someone they just want to follow because they're curious about what you have to teach and say. All right, that's been all of what I wanted to share. So we've been into this for 25 minutes. That's perfect. I wanted to keep this short, but we have a few more minutes for your questions. So I will check the comments now, and if you have any questions, just drop them in the comments box now and I will answer them. Yeah, so we have a beautiful comment here, actually. I can't see your name here, but here she said, be inspired by others, but put your own perspective on what you've learned. And I really believe that's all it is about. So it's totally fine and it's normal and it's necessary to be inspired by others, but you gotta add yourself to the game. Because otherwise, just think from the perspective of readers or consumers. If you don't add your own personality, there is no point in following you, because if you just do what everyone else is doing, you will not be able to do anything unique or anything that's worth following. All right. All right, I cannot see any questions here, which is amazing because it means that there's not been a lot of confusion about the topics. So if you've been watching this live, thank you for joining me. If you watched the replay and you have any questions or thoughts, drop your thoughts in the comments box. And yeah, thank you for joining me. Have an amazing rest of the day, and I'll see you in one of the next sessions. Bye-bye.